Craft words worth a reader's time, or a life worth a writer's ink. Make sentences that matter, or make memories that link to eternity. Set your words on the river to run, or set your boots to the road till it's sung. Let your body say what words can't, or live a truth that begs to move. Rainrun Street ran damp and lively between Waterdeep Castle and Snail Street, the eastern shoulder of Mount Waterdeep, looming in the sunlight, akin to a watchful cairn. On the north side stood a door beneath a signboard weathered to silvery grain, its letters carved so deep even fog couldn't blur them. The Yawning Portal. To the west, Mother Selinka's house of pleasure glowed, and beyond it, the empty keg exhaled ale and laughter from its patrons. To the east, Lancathla Dree's bakery bled the warm scent of yeast and honey into the night air. Close by, Sobre's magic shop shimmered, while the smithy of Argali rang bright sparks into the street. Inside, the common room sprawled wide, well-worn boards underfoot, smoothly carved pillars shouldering the roof, panelled walls draped here and there with rich blue tapestries. An elbow-high rail ran the room's edge, where tankards perched like gulls at rest. Firelight combed the room in copper ribbons, though most eyes slanted inevitably toward the entry well at the centre, the black, patient mouth of Undermountain that made every tale told here feel half a dare. Beyond the murmur of dice and dinnerware stood a human bard, brown hair as a chestnut, fingers hovering over a cittern as if testing the currents of the room before casting her first note. At a corner table near the blue hangings, a familiar figure leaned back, a pint held like a scepter and a smile already halfway to a story. Volotham Gedum gathered a small knot of listeners with nothing more than the angle of his chair and the promise of mischief in his eyes. New faces and excellent timing, Volo said, raising his tankard in salute. You've come to the only doorstep in the world where bread, steel, and sorcery can be bought within a stone's toss. And would you guess it? These floorboards have heard better epics than most bards can carry. But tonight, fortune favours us twice. First, we attend to the lady over there, preparing her tunes. Brown hair, cittern, a posture that says she's about to steal the room and ransom it back in choruses. Dear listener. He leaned in. Our second course of action, when her final note has settled upon those blue tapestries, like dew on midnight velvet. I shall unveil a modest labour of love and necessary wisdom, Volo's Guide to the Bard, a compendium for recognising genius, surviving it, and, on daring nights, matching it. Now hush, tankards to the rail, hearts to the strings. Let the Yawning Portal listen with us, dear one. It's about to start.
Fly with me to the mountains of doom. Ashes, fire, sharp steel, and claws through waters, willows, and burnt black land. My eyes and my wings will forever be yours.
Dear reader, some ask me, Volo, what is the power of words? I answer thus with a semblance of pride. Words are the only luggage a bard can carry that grows lighter with every mile and heavier in every heart. Before we stride further, permit me this small overture. A poet, a scribe, a scholar, all humble apprentices to the written word, all apprentices of thought. This apprenticeship is the practice of grabbing, twisting, and shaping thought. Without words, our thoughts would be shapeless. 1,000,000 words introduce us to 1,000,000 unique discoveries and their many beautiful, astonishing, and different forms. It's hard to tell which comes first, but naming a bud A ghost, a spell, a disappearance continually ask us to get in touch with the mysterious gifts of the world. Words give us bounds from which to clutch beauty, decay, and to name what was, when we lose what we once had and feel nothing at all. In many ways, words have named us. Before we can even begin to name them, they wait patiently till we are ready to confront life and its many possibilities. So then, dear reader, if words are the tools we use to shape thought, keep them honed and keep them clean. Spend them like coin you've weighed twice, and save enough to buy silence when silence will do more work than speech. Let some words be bridges, some be boats. Let a rare few be lanterns you pass to hands you may never meet. Name the world kindly where you can, truthfully where you must, and bravely when both will cost you. Remember, every page you pen teaches tomorrow how to speak of today, and every song you sing teaches your own heart how to listen. Take up thy quill or tune thy throat. Either will serve. Speak gently, sing truly, write bravely. The rest is tuning, and the road will do it for you. What in the 9 bright hells is a bard, and why can't we stop listening? It is said, by sages sober and inebriate alike, that music bears a special magic. The true article wanders far and wide, gathering lore, telling tales, working wonders with nothing but breath, string, drum, and nerve, and lives quite capably upon the gratitude of the audience. When chance or opportunity drags a company into the briars, a bard slips into all the shapes an army cannot. Diplomat when tempers flare, negotiator when purses pinch, messenger when speed is life, scout and spy when silence draws blood better than steel. I have seen a shanty halt a riot. I have also seen a verse start one. Do choose the song with care. Music is the fruit of the divine tree that vibrates with the words of creation. But the question I ask you is, can a bard go to the root of this tree? Can one tap into the source of that power? Ah, then what manner of music they would bring to this world. A bard could be seen as a jingler of rhymes or a strummer of tavern chords, but nigh this isn't the only magic within their notes. In grave hours, they smuggle song and dance into the room like contrabanded sunlight. When ignorance swells within the room, they pour wisdom neat. When the ridiculous capers, they make it, marvelously, sublime. Bards are preservers of what kingdoms most misplace, a link to the eternal truths and fundamentals of the universe. When the ink blurs, when fires take the libraries to dust, when lords edit history with their sword's edge, a bard's tongue keeps the truth alive and walking. Many a well-known fact was a campfire chorus first, and more honest than besides. The bard's remit includes the very hour in which thou breathest. Today's follies and triumphs, today's milk-sour boasts and quiet moments of stunning valor, they chronicle it all. They set the clumsy foot next to the nimble leap, that both might be remembered and, bless them, improved upon. But Volo, I hear thee protest, softly. The innkeep has opinions about shouting. My cousin Nenda can carry a tune, and Uncle Hearn tells a story that keeps the cat awake. Aye, and good luck to them. Yet what sets bards apart, indeed, what sets each bard apart from the next, is the marriage of style and substance in performance. Craft sharpened to a razor, daring lacquered in colour, and, most telling, the possession of a signature piece, some song, poem, tale, or tour de force that travels ahead of them like a herald and lingers behind like a perfume. Ask any village where a true bard has performed, and you'll hear about the night the room changed. I have seen a satirical couplet topple a petty tyrant faster than a battering ram. Mockery is the people's siege engine. To capture and hold a room, bards are oft flamboyant, unabashed, and gloriously impossible to ignore. Cloaks wheel, boots stamp, candles lean closer of their own accord. Yet heed me, beneath the glitter lies a discipline. Calluses sing upon the fingertips. balance is measured within the harp string. Memory of the chorus is their arsenal. Timing for the pun, a blade. The show is the lure, and the encore is the reason they do what they do. Hospitality, then. The wise landlord knows that a handful of songs is worth more than a new roof. A renowned bard's arrival is treated by sensible folk with the fuss reserved for minor royalty, hot supper, clean bed, and a crowd that swells like a tide and leaves twice the coin it meant to. Nobles host in silks and smiles while guarding their secrets, for a secret is merely a story that hasn't paid its tab. Yet, if thou art a noble reading this, fear not. I accept bribes in the form of candied almonds and unguarded libraries. Not every wanderer with a whistle is a bard, mind. Some are just hungry and there for a hot tavern meal. Conversely, not every bard sings for their supper, though most will if the road has been unkind and the stew aromatic. What marks the true breed is that there is literal magic to them. Through art and law, they draw upon powers that make even hardened sellswords sit a little straighter, and priests purse their lips in a professional envy. This earns them respect, admiring from the crowd, wary from those who prefer their misdeeds unsung. A word on the far north, where winter keeps its own music in a cold rhythm. There, the singers and storytellers are called skalds, warrior poets who hammer the blood hot with sagas, keeping the legends of Northlanders and the Reged alive, as if each name were a coal to be breathed upon. Know this taboo. Among such folk, spellcasting is frowned upon, unless stamped as a gift of their gods. Thus, the skald's might is born on the axe, blade, and drum, more than on visible sorcery. So, gentle traveller, if thou wouldst know a realm, ask its bards. If thou wouldst change a realm, convince its bards. In the leaves that follow, I shall unveil schools of songcraft, instruments that behave like ill-tempered familiars, methods of turning a hostile room into an eager chorus, and the delicate calculus of saying precisely what must be said, loudly enough to be heard, and softly enough to be invited back tomorrow. Turn the page with me, carefully. First editions, bruise. The overture swells, the curtain stirs, and even Elminster, should he happen upon these pages with his customary sniff, may concede that for once I have slightly understated the matter. Chapter 2 of Hearts, Harps, and the Unruly Road. Dear reader, let us next prize up the breastplate and peer at the clockwork within, for a bard's magic comes from the very heart that thumps rude rhythm against the ribs. When that heart is good, and many are, a bard becomes hope, with a melody, courage radiating within a chorus, a bright lamp smuggled into the cellars of the downtrodden. Should the nobles of a land sour into corruption from the 9 hells or the abyss, and possibly, although doubtful, the heavens. Mind you, I do have a catalogue if that were to occur. Such a bard becomes, delightfully, an enemy of the state, slipping nets, dodging warrants, and lifting spirits faster than tacksmen can lower them. Although that might be factually incorrect in Waterdeep, they do love their taxes there. Yet, traveller, do not blink at this truth. Music also springs from ill hearts. Evil bards disdain crude violence. Even they prefer the strings of the harp over the sword, a daft persuasion over brutish ignorance. They enthrall the room and then collect their fee from pockets their audience swears were volunteered. I have watched a villainous balladeer empty a keep without opening a single gate. If you find yourself applauding and confessing family secrets, stop one of those immediately. Bards are the happiest vultures you shall ever meet, circling for opportunities to learn. A forgotten tomb, a riddle in chipped runes, a rumour of an ancient spell sung rather than scribed. Their boots are already on. Strange places, stranger creatures, New songs, new stories. These are meat and wine to them. They trail heroes and villains, professional courtesy, to witness deeds firsthand. For a tale told in the first person grows thrice as tall in the retelling. After enough sagas about mighty doings, many bards get the taste for the deed itself and stride from chorus to charge. Some succeed gloriously, some become cautionary verses. Both are instructional. A bard conjures from their soul, rather than the study of a shelf of books as a wizard permits. They would be more likely to publish the tome. Their repertoire is modest in number, yet nimble in use. No fumbling over prepared lists, nor agonies of prey at dawn. They simply sing forth what is needed. Their art inclines to charms and illusions, the velvet glove that makes doors open and foes look twice, whereupon you are already elsewhere. Leave the thunderous evocations to wizards and sorcerers. A bard will win the room before the lightning arrives, or convince the lightning to arrive somewhere else entirely. Beyond spells, the music itself is their connection with the weave. With verse and vibration, a bard can stiffen allies' spines, snare a hall in rapt silence, or unravel hostile magics that rely upon both somatic and verbal components. I have seen a deft counter-chorus pluck a curse out of the air like a splinter from a thumb. Bards share several arts with rogues. Listen well, for locks rarely complain, and a nimble tongue can lift more than a nimble hand. Yet they are not so fanatical in any single craft. What they possess in abundance is knowledge, gossip of local notables, the lineage of a tavern sign, which relic in the village shrine is real, and which is an excellent fake that works better, because it is loved. Bards are wanderers, guided by intuition rather than the cool calculation seen in many other extraordinary individuals. Their spontaneous talent and lifestyle sit poorly under law's stiff collar. I have yet to meet a truly lawful bard who remains so after their second encore. Elminster's quill scratch. Times and editions change, Volo. Leave each folk to their choices. On the open road, a bard honours the gods in passing more oft than in pews. You shall find many a wayside shrine attended by a tired voice and a tin cup. Bards commonly nod toward powers of roads, art, and bright fortune. Some lift hymns to patrons of music and poetry, and goodly sorts look to the guardians of light to see them safe at dawn. Roguish performers toast the laughing gods who favour tricks and narrow escapes. The wicked few mutter to darker patrons whose altars smell of blood and brass. Elminster's aside. Ahem, realms folk. Think Milil, Ogma, Finder, Liera, Timora, Shondakul, and such like. Names differ by land, but the road hears them all. Most bards begin as shadows of a single master. An apprentice who fetches strings, counts coins, badly, and learns the ABC of audiences, attention, breath, cadence, until loosed to make their own weather. Informal colleges exist where roots cross and reputations congregate. There, a keen ear can overhear a decade of lessons in a single night. Do not mistake conviviality for their fraternity. Bards are the notorious rivals when reputations overlap like territory of past kings. They will duel with verses, undercut with encores, and occasionally steal each other's best work. For what is originality but simply the building on the magnificence of another? Humans take easily to the wandering life. Any border looks like a dare. Elves, with their connection to the Feywild, are made of a half melody already, and slip into bardcraft as one slips into moonlight. Half-elves roam because both hearths are theirs, and the connection to the Fey also courses through them. And the road is kind in its indifference. Half-orcs, though I have met memorable exceptions, often find the career's demands ill-suited to how the world insists on seeing them. Dwarves, gnomes, and halflings have scant traditions of bardcraft. Yet the individual spark does appear, and when it does, the result is either genius or calamity, and frequently both. As for the so-called savage folk, bards are rare, save among centaurs, whose sky-open voices can teach a child to gallop with their lungs. In a mixed band, the bard is commonly the spokesman, the negotiator at the gate, the first laugh at a tense table, the last apology when the wizard sets the curtains aflame. They translate between sword for an angry ogre and the mind for the scripture of a devil's pact. And if you would like your heroics to be remembered kindly, you will keep your bard fed, rested and apprised of which details to omit. They will ignore you and improve the tale anyway. There, gentles, the heart, the habit, and the heresies of the singing sort. Chapter 3. Where songs learn their steps, bardic colleges of the Sword Coast. Gentles, I have often maintained, usually over the protests of headmasters, that a bard is born on the road, and only polished in a hall, such as Candlekeep. Yet even I must tip my hat, and occasionally my tankard, to the proud institutions of our coast, where the bardic masters gather the young, the keen, and the dangerously tuneful, to teach them how not to set an inn on fire unless the ballad requires it. The colleges of our day harken back to 7 elder seats of songcraft: Foshlucan, Macfuermydd, Dos, Canaith, Clee, Anstruth, and Olam, venerable names that once tolled across the realms. Each lent its name to a famed instrument of the bards, and those instruments, temperamental beings that they are, still answer best to students who keep the old disciplines. Most modern schools along the Sword Coast take their cue from those 7, organising themselves by specialty. Permit me to introduce a few whose footfalls I have followed, and whose bursars I have successfully evaded. The College of Dance. Step the words and the stars will listen. These nimble scholars insist the words of creation whirl in the heavens and crawl through the ants' patient march. Thus they train the body to speak, spinning, leaping, cutting arcs in air until their grace becomes a touch of grammar and velocity, a variation of the written verse. Expect coursework mastered in agility, speed, balance, and the art of turning a battlefield into a ballroom where only one partner knows the steps. I once watched a dance adept glide through a ring of brigands. When they finally noticed she had passed, their knives were tied to their own belts with their leader's sash. Elminster. Poetry is not a license to show off on cliff edges. The College of Glamour. Crown of the summer court, tongue of winter's cool breath. Trace their lineage to the Feywild, and you will not be far wrong. Their performances are woven of beauty and terror in equal measure. The mightiest can mantle themselves in otherworldly majesty, songs that stir a homesick longing for things the listener has never owned, or ice-old fears awake that no lantern can soothe. Captors have been known to loose fetters under a single verse, dragons to fold their wings and listen. Beware, however, the same magic that quiets beasts may bend minds. Villainous glamour bards can sup on a town for weeks, charming hosts into thrall. Heroic ones use that same splendor to hearten the downtrodden and set tyrants wobbling on their thrones. Elminster, mind your ethics, bright ones. The line between servitude and bondage is as thin as a harp string. The College of Law, where the tome speaks and keeps secrets of the multiverse. Collectors of spells and secrets alike, these bards pluck wisdom from anywhere it hides. Cloistered libraries, hedge witch rites, shepherd gossip, and the marginalia of mad wizards. They gather in universities to trade techniques, then wander to festivals and courts to expose corruption, unmask lies, and, ever a public service, prick-puffed authority with a well-timed couplet. The original Fochlucan stood on the northeastern edge of Silvery Moon. After its doors fell shut for a time, Ultram's Music Conservatory reopened the site, later moving to South Bank. Into the old halls stepped the House of the Harp, under Master Bard Farrell, Flamebeard Luekuan, whose aim, achieved, I am pleased to report, was to revive the ancient teachings. Years of careful tending by Silvery Moon and the quiet encouragement of the Harpers have produced a faculty worthy of the Fosh-Lucan name once more. Most students there walk the path of law, quills as sharp as their tongues. Based at the great law house of Herald's Holdfast, northwest of Silvery Moon, this college devotes itself to preserving ancient histories and legends. The Heralds, founded in 922 DR by the Harper Aliost Oskrina, collect, organize, and, bless them, share their hoards of knowledge with any of peaceable intent. Allies of the Harpers they may be, but they keep a stubborn neutrality in most conflicts. Parchment refuses to take sides, and so do they. Elminster, a rare paragraph of yours I shall not redact. The College of Valor. Let deeds be sung, so that song make deeds worth recording. Daring storytellers. These are the standard bearers of bravery remembered. You will find them beneath vaults, where echoes behave, or amid bonfires, where sparks applaud, singing the deeds of mighty forebears and chasing new glories to witness firsthand. Their task is twofold. Keep yesterday's heroes from fading, and light a fuse in tomorrow's. I have watched a Valabard take a room of farmhands and have them standing like shieldmates by the chorus's end, then wake them early to be such. Good bards do not merely recount history, they recruit it. Entrance examinations vary by hall, but a safe wager is this. Arrive with a signature piece that stops a corridor at 50 paces, a mind to learn, and a promise, spoken or tacit, not to seduce the bursar. The best colleges will demand rigor behind the razzle. The better ones will also teach you when not to perform. In summary, Traveller, the Sword Coast's colleges teach bards to fit their genius to a scabbard, drawn clean, sheathed clean. Chapter 4, where cosmos and tongue conspire, creation, eloquence, whispers, and swords. Now I know what you are thinking, Volo. Where are the bards that link to the fundamentals of the universe? And to that, I say, oh, just you wait. The College of Creation, conducting the first dawn. Ask a creation bard what the world is, and they'll answer with shining eyes, art. They hold that the gods and the first dragons wrought existence as a grand composition, and that its primeval harmonies still resound through stone, stream, and star. What they name the Song of Creation. Their studies are cosmic in nature, the choreography that mirrors the wheeling heavens, verses that wake the memory of mountains. Before the sun and the moon, there was the song, and its music awoke the first dawn. Its melodies so delighted the stones and trees that some of them gained a voice of their own, and now they sing too. Learn the song, students, and you too can teach the mountains to sing and dance. Dwarves and gnomes, lovers of craft that endures, often urge their young bards to this path. Among Dragonborn, the song is near sacred, for legend paints Bahamut and Tiamat as two of its earliest singers. Opposed in will, harmonious in power. Expect in these halls a curriculum of dance, composition, and the careful knitting of sound to substance. I have seen a creation adept coax a cracked flagstone to remember its unbroken self and mend mid-chorus. Elminster's quill scratch. Do not teach your dancing mountains. The spine of the world has shifted quite enough, thank you. The College of Eloquence. Argue the stars into nodding. Here are the masters of oratory, those who bind logic to lyric and make a rhetoric of a rapier. Eloquence bards persuade skeptics with proofs neat as dovetail joints, then pluck heartstrings with such a finesse that even their foes applaud before remembering to object to their statements. Beware debating an eloquence bard across a long table. By dessert, you will cheerfully endorse the very thing you came to prevent and pledge a donation besides. Their coursework includes memory, palaces, cadence control, ethical arguments, ideally not optional, and the theatre of gestures. How a raised brow can fetch more obedience than a raised blade. Now, dear reader, lean thy ear a moment closer to the hearth. If a bard's stock in trade is language, we must take a slight detour to their first employer, who is older by far. The air itself, shivered into song. Long before quills learned to scratch, and letters learned their little marches across a page, folk stitched their nights together with humming and hand claps. Permit me, then, to set the scene, and then let the music speak for itself. Chorus, melody, and notes existed well before words were encased in letter shapes. Sounds hummed, whistled, and strummed before they had ledger. Words a pale imitation of words sung. Song by fire, star or moonlight gathered weary patrons bereft, all gathered to witness the music. Unpleasant nights, made pleasant by anthem, ballad, and hymn, brightening travellers' minds, warming hearts at every clap of a hand. Music, singing, and song is the beckoning hand of welcome and the motioning sway of hips and the boisterous tap of foot saying, "We are ancient friends, alive in every culture, every heartbeat, every gathering. When you feel lost or unseen, call us, and we will carry you. We speak in rhythms and steps, in melodies and silences, reminding you that you are alive and that feeling itself is sacred. Song and dance are timeless and untrammeled, always available to us, a mere jolt, jive, scoot, and twirl, a mere hum, trill, croon, and shout, a mere whistle, clap, stomp, and sway, a mere note that rises, dips, and lingers in the air, a mere beat that moves through body and heart, inviting us to join, to echo, to celebrate the living rhythm within us. All an outward romanticism with life itself. All a way to confess, to point out, to sway and coo at what we seeing, or hearing, or witnessing, a way of joining us in unison. Envoy, when the tongue forgets, the feet remember there. Gentles, the road's oldest language, spoken without a single word. Keep it handy. When speech tangles and the quill sulks, hum once and let the room remember how to breathe. When courage wavers, set a toe to tapping and teach the spine its rhythm. Let melody fetch the lost, let hand claps warm the cold, and let your steps say kindly truths your tongue can't yet carry. The College of Whispers. Wolves in hushed tones. Most folk welcome a bard. The whispers make of that welcoming nature a weapon for their future plans. Outwardly, they appear as any other, sharing news, singing sweet, telling tales that make mugs forget their handles. Inwardly, they are taught to stalk secrets from higher nobles, harvest them, and press them into future coin flow or compliance between their greatest enemies. Extortion is their chorus. For this, many bards despise them, parasites who wear the reputation of song to drink power like spiced wine. Members of this college rarely declare themselves. They claim some gentler affiliation or none at all, sliding into courts and councils where the gossip breeds faster than sense. As if any politician knows, it is all a game. If you suspect a whispers bard, ask them to perform at noon with all shutters thrown wide. They dislike bright truths and crowds who ask clever questions. Also, keep your memoirs locked. Better, unwritten. Elminster. And yet, secrets uncovered can topple tyrants. Tools cut both ways. Mind thine own. The College of Swords. Steel that dances. Call them blades. Duelists who make spectacle of danger. Sword swallowing, knife juggling, bullseye splitting, mock combats that end only when someone's hat gains an extra ventilation hole. Do not mistake the show for mere glitter. Under the footlights, they are entertainers. Off stage, they are fighters as skilled as any sellsword, only twice as stylish. The romance of the blade lends itself to double lives. One such performer may use a circus as veil for unsaintly errands. Assassination, clever robbery, whispered blackmail. Another becomes a masked justice, carving warnings into the doors of the cruel. Troops adore the excitement and dread the liability. A blade caught stealing or dabbling in vigilante heroics finds the caravan pulling away without them. From there, their paths fork, enforcer for thieves' guilds, lamentable if lucrative, or adventurer on their own recognizance, perilous, but the applause is better. Chapter 5. A Bard in Full. Storm Silverhand of Shadowdale. Permit thy humble servant to set before thee an exemplar so true to the bardic ideal that even my quill, accustomed as it is to superlatives, must pause for breath. Storm Silverhand, the merry wonder of Shadowdale, a leader among the harpers, and a gale of good spirits in human guise. Storm approaches life with an endless high spirit and a gusto that could chase rain from a harvest sky. She wears little arrogance, rare jewelry and heroes, and spends her days and nights training young harpers, shielding Shadowdale from its foes, and, mark this, seeking out unhappy youngsters as a midwife seeks a difficult birth, gently, urgently, successfully. About the only thing that upsets her is the unhappiness of good folk. Making others happy is the wind in her bellows, the beat in her bar, what drives her through the days and steers her through the dark. Ask any in Shadowdale what Storm is, and you'll be answered with a chorus. Healer, midwife, herbalist, and fellow farmer, who will roll up her sleeves at harvest-tide and arrive with several willing harpers to serve as unpaid, somewhat skilled hands. Bring the injured or the sick to her at any hour, and thou wilt find a smile waiting with the poultice. Children adore her. Children possess the finest nonsense detectors in Faerun. Common folk cherish her, and, no small thing, the elves of Everesca have heaped upon her high noble titles, never before given to a human. Elminster's quill scratch, she earned each, twice over. The stupidity of rulers elicits from her a weary exasperation, the deliberate misuse of authority, a hotter weather. In such storms, Storm's temper turns grim and get even, and she arranges poetic justice with a bard's relish for mater. Swindlers, thieves, arsonists, vandals, tyrants, each receives a punishment that rhymes neatly with the crime. She will hazard her own safety to halt such wrongs, yet never forgets the danger her actions might rain upon others. Those rulers she deems salvageable by schooling or sense she patiently tutors. The irredeemable find that a kindly bard can be a hurricane when kindness fails. Elminster, she prefers redemption. Do not force her to demonstrate the alternative. Among the harpers, Storm is valued above jewels and banners. Others may be mightier or more bookwise, but Storm is the rarest resource, the perfect teacher and inspiration, the one who leaves a young harper standing taller than they knew they could. She leads by lifting, and every hand she steadies 10 more. If there must be a song the harpers hum when the night grows long, it is the one Storm taught them. Courage, set to kindness. A final note to soothe or stir thy piety as fits. Mistra herself favours Storm, and on several occasions has whisked her from certain death. Storm neither expects nor depends upon such rescue. She walks into peril as if no goddess were watching, save, perhaps, the god in each good deed. Elminster. True, and she would prefer you keep the whisking quiet. Traveller's counsel. If fortune brings thee to Shadowdale, bring Storm a task rather than a tribute, a wounded hand, a troubled heart, a field that needs tending, a youngster who needs cheering. Leave thy arrogance at the gate and thy complaints on the road. You'll find yourself put to work, paid in smiles, and, if you're blessed, sent away with a tune that makes you better than you arrived. There, gentles, a barder's road, hearth, and rising song, storm Silverhand, who proves that merriment can be a weapon, and mercy, a sharper edge than steel. Chapter 6. A Taproom, Interlude, in which thy author rests his boots, polishes his halo, and confesses a few things. If thou findest me stationed, heroically, by the hearth of the Yawning Portal, with ink-stained fingers, and a tankard that never quite empties, it is because Waterdeep insists I take downtime after the triumph of my latest tour for Volo's Guide to Monsters. I submit to this rest bravely by reuniting with old friends, rescuing new ones from their own good intentions, and mulling the next work that shall improve the realms and my publisher's purse in equal measure. I own I possess a moderately elevated opinion of my importance. The view is better up here, yet I see them as my charms. There is, verily, nothing I will not do for a friend in need. I have proved this many times by leaping from comfortable chairs with alarming speed when a cry of help, or if a bill, goes up. Elminster's quill scratch. Bombastic world traveller, indeed. And yet, he does aid his friends, and fools unfortunately. Now, as to a matter the Sage of Shadowdale insists I address before he accidentally sets this manuscript on fire. Elminster on Volo. I don't know how he talks me into these things. Look ye, another tome of hilarious misinformation about part of the realms, from the irrepressible, nay, pompous and pretentious Volo. Unfair, a touch, accurate, in places. Yet note that the old mage continues, quill grumbling all the while, to preface, annotate, and rescue my best efforts from the occasional over-exuberant flourish. This partnership is what sages call symbiosis, and what Elminster calls cleaning up after a very determined cat. He chides me too, for once presuming to direct travellers about the northern Sword Coast, the stretch folk still call the savage frontier, north of Waterdeep, for as far as the snow will blow, east of the Sea of Swords, west of Anorok, mountains without number, forests that eat maps, riches of gem and metal, and more orcs, and worse, than any region deserves. He would feel a mite guilty, he says, to let fools trust my guidance unaided. Elminster. Aye, and yet he's getting, God's help us, better. You needn't tell him I said that. Some years back, recent enough to sting, I put forth a pamphlet styled Volo's Guide to All Things Magical. Within it, I revealed a useful sampling of long-forgotten spells, gathered by rigorous research, Elminster, assorted notes, gossip, and stolen glances at other mages' spellbooks, then hazily remembered. The result? A queue of powerful mages with strong opinions about privacy, peril, and pamphleteering. After certain pointed conversations, I shifted my energies to travel and practical guides, safer for readers, taverns, and the continued attachment of my eyebrows. Do not mistake, I remain a tireless scholar, but I have learned that some revelations are best sung softly rather than shouted in broadsides. This present volume concerns bards, whose art is to turn danger into wisdom and wisdom into song. So any lore herein that skirts sorcery is curated with care, amended by the old mage's red quill, and free of incantations that would say, "Teach thy cellar door to devour the neighbours." Thy humble guide has travelled farther than most tax collectors can count. Yes, even to Karatur, twice. The food alone is worth a third. I rarely linger long in any one city. Experience shows that after publication, I am encouraged, by mages, merchants, innkeepers, constables, doppelganger syndicates, and the occasional jealous husband, to enjoy the next town's hospitality. This habit of moving on, far from a hindrance, has only broadened my knowledge of the realms, quickened my pen, and taught me which windows are best for swift departures. Elminster. He risks his life for a story more than is wise, and I have excised more than a few revelations that would endanger readers. Or Faerun. Trust his enthusiasm, verify his specifics. Why this explanation in a bardic book? Because, dear reader, a bard's first instrument is truth, truth to their own interpretation. Mine has been tuned, somewhat, by practice and largely by edits. Consider this leaf thy warranty. What follows in these pages aims to inspire, not imperil, to guide, not gull. The realms brims with songs and secrets. I have sung many and spilled a few. With the help of a certain famously bearded proofreader, I now spill only those that leave the world better and the tavern standing. So, top up thy cup. I shall return anon to our regular scripture, colleges and callings, instruments that sulk and soar, and the art by which a single well-cast verse turns a hostile room into a happy chorus. If the Yawning Portal grows quieter for a moment, it is not because the world lacks monsters. It is because I am between books, envoy, of two roads, both leading to the final song. Dear reader, the fire is banked, the tankards lean like dozing gulls along the rail, and even the entry well seems to yawn more softly. I have said much, sung some, and left a few footnotes to wrestle Elminster in the margins. What remains is the parting compass I give to every bright-eyed apprentice, battle-scarred chorus leader, and traveller who asks me what to do with a life that itches to matter. Craft words worth a reader's time, or a life worth a writer's ink. Make sentences that matter, or make memories that link to eternity. Set your words on the river to run, or set your boots to the road till it's sung. Let your body say what words can't, or live a truth that begs to move. Volothamp Gedon, who has misplaced more boots than quills, and means to misplace more. There it is, two roads that are really one. Some of us cast nets of syllables and haul in hearts. Some of us stride into storms and let the thunder write the stanza. A few rare fools, my favourite sort, attempt both and sleep when posterity allows. Choose thy craft, ink that steadies the world, or footsteps that teach it a better rhythm. If thou canst, marry them. Write the deed that deserved the page. Live the page that dared the deed. Let the river have thy words, for it carries them to mouths you'll never meet. Let the road have thy boots, for it brings you to truths you'd never read. When the song fails, let the body speak kindness in the simple tongue of helping hands. When strength fails, let the soft syllable turn spears aside. And if ever thou art unsure which to do, ask which choice will leave someone warmer by a fire you may never see. So, close this book, carefully, first edition's bruise, or don't, and tuck it beneath thy arm like a secret ally. Until the next road and the next refrain, I remain Volothamp Gedon, presently at the Yawning Portal, ready to trade a story for a smile, and a smile for a better story.